Hello everyone! Welcome to the fourth part of Chapter 1. We just finished learning about the cost-benefit and opportunity cost principle. When we make decisions, not only we need to compare benefits and cost of our decisions, but we also need to make sure that the cost we use are the next best alternative. In other words, we should only pursue a choice if it yields benefits that are at least as large as the opportunity cost. However, these choices are still complicated. So, in this video, we will further simplify the choices we make by using the marginal principle. We will turn the choices that ask how many to either or questions because they are simpler. Let's look at an example to see what we mean. When we decide whether to buy coffee, it is easier to answer that question by asking it in another way. From how many coffee I should buy to should I buy one more cup of coffee. This is easier because you can easily compare the extra benefit and additional cost of an additional cup of coffee. To make good decisions, we need to transform the questions to ask incrementally. Once we break down the question, we need to compare their marginal benefits and their marginal cost. Marginal benefit is just a fancy way that tells us how much additional benefit you get when you buy an extra cup of coffee, or how much additional points you earn if you study for one more hour. Marginal cost is the same. It is how much extra cost you have to spend for an additional cup of coffee. You should decide to buy an extra cup of coffee if the marginal benefit is larger than the marginal cost. As a business major, you might get a job that requires you to use the marginal principle. For example, what if you were told to hire some number of workers? Instead of asking how many people should you hire, you should ask if you should hire an extra person. You can use the marginal principle to make this decision by comparing the marginal benefit of hiring an additional worker with their marginal cost. Sounds familiar, right? It sounds like the cost-benefit principle, but it's not. Let me clarify what that means. The marginal and cost-benefit principles have specific uses. If you are trying to decide how many cups of coffee you need to buy, or how many hours to study for an exam, or how many workers to hire, you should use the marginal principle. If the choice is an either-or question such as, should I get an MBA or not, or should I get takeout food or cook at home, the cost-benefit principle should be used. You can also combine the two. Apply the marginal principle first and then the cost-benefit principle. What we mean by this is that we should break down the choices into smaller pieces, like should I hire one more worker, instead of asking how many workers should I hire. It's easier to see and compare the additional benefit and extra cost of hiring an additional worker. When you try to compare the benefits and cost of an unknown number of possible workers, it's a lot more challenging or downright impossible to figure out which number of workers is the best. Once you have that information, you can compare the marginal benefit with the marginal cost. And if the marginal benefit exceeds marginal cost, the cost-benefit principle says to hire that extra person. Let's break this down slowly. So let's start with a question of how much to buy. We can use the marginal principle to break this down into a decision of a series of marginal questions. Instead of asking how much to buy, we can further simplify the problem by asking, should I buy one more? Once we have that, we can use the cost-benefit principle to decide whether we should buy one more item. If the marginal benefit is larger or equal to the marginal cost, then yes, we buy one more item. We can keep using the same questions until we get the right amount. Keep asking should I buy one more until we can't anymore. Eventually, the marginal benefit will be less than the marginal cost. At this point, the cycle will stop, and you should not buy any more items. We can use this logic for anything. Let's say you are trying to find the optimal number of workers that you need to hire. So you're asking, how much should I hire? You use the marginal principle to break it down to, should I hire one additional worker? Then you use the cost-benefit principle to ask, is my marginal benefit greater than or equal to the marginal cost? If yes, you should hire that worker. And you will keep asking that until the question answers no. Then at that moment, you stop hiring the number of people. Okay, now we are ready to answer our very first question in this video. According to the marginal principle, keep increasing quantity until the marginal benefit of an additional item is blank the marginal cost of an additional item. A greater than, B equal to, C less than, or D greater than or less than. We just learned that we should keep increasing quantity until the marginal benefit of an additional item is equal to the marginal cost of an additional item. The marginal principle provides a guide that we can follow so that we can maximize our economic surplus. To maximize economic surplus, we should use the rational rule. The rational rule states that we should continue to do whatever we are doing until marginal benefit is equal to the marginal cost. The rational rule will lead us to make good decisions that maximizes our profits. Think about this. The rule says to keep hiring workers as long as the marginal benefit of each worker exceeds their marginal cost. But we need to pay attention. We just need to stop hiring at the number of workers where the marginal benefit is equal to or barely higher than the marginal cost. Now, let's look at a numerical example to visualize this. Suppose Nerida, who just graduated with her MBA, started her Italian restaurant business. She asked you, how many workers should I hire? Since you are a good economics student, you told her to use the rational rule. You told her that the first step is to use the marginal principle and break down her question from how many workers to hire to should I hire one more worker. After that, you advised her to use the cost-benefit principle and compare the marginal benefit of each worker to their marginal cost. Then, you told her to keep hiring as long as the marginal benefit is higher or equal to the marginal cost, and that's what she did. She first made a table predicting the number of meals created per the number of total workers. As you can see, 2 to 7 workers can create from 160 to 310 meals. Now Nerida needs help in determining the optimal number of workers, and she needs your help in finding the marginal benefit and the marginal cost. You told her that before she can calculate that, she needs to find total benefits and total cost. Once we have that, we can calculate not only the marginal benefit and the marginal cost, but also the profit or the economic surplus. Nerida said she can figure out total benefits and total cost. Total benefits can be found by multiplying the price per meal, which is $25, and the number of meals served. To find total cost, she said that she spends $10 on the ingredients per meal, plus $300 per worker, plus a one-time rental fee of $500, and a one-time estimate of the value of her time, which is $1,000. The one-time fee is what we call fixed cost in economics. Now that we know how to find total benefits and total cost, spend some time filling out the total benefits and total cost columns. I will show you how to find these numbers. Let's solve total benefits first. We just need to multiply 25 with the number of meals served, and that is the second column here. To find the total benefits of 2 workers, we need to multiply $25 times 160. That gives us total benefits of 2 workers to be $4,000. Now, for the third worker, we multiply 25 again with the number of meals served, which is 210. So, the total benefits is 5,250. Now, when we do the same for 4 workers, again we multiply 25, multiply that with 250 meals. So our total benefits for 4 workers is 6,250. Now, finally, for 5 workers, 6 workers, and 7 workers, they are 7,000 total benefits, and then it is 7,500, and then 7,750. Now for total cost, remember again that we have a fixed cost of 1,500. So regardless of how many meals are served and how many workers are hired, every row you have to consider a fixed cost of 1,500. But for 2 workers, let's calculate this. They make 160 meals and it costs $10 to make it. And then since there's 2 workers, we have to pay them $300 each. So now total cost is $3,700. Now for 3 workers, you do the same thing, but now we have 210 meals per $10 each, and then we add the 300 times the 3 workers, so our total cost is 4,500. And now for our 4th worker, we multiply the number of meals, which is 250, with the cost of the meal, plus 300 times how many workers? 4. And that gives us 5,200 for our total cost. If we do this for the 5th worker, the total cost is 5,800. And then for the 6th worker, total cost is 6,300. And for the final worker, 7th worker, the total cost is 6,700. As you can see, total benefits and total cost varies with the number of workers and meals served. Now, we have enough information to fill out the columns for marginal benefit and marginal cost, and even the profit column. We can find marginal benefit and marginal cost because we know that these two are just the incremental change in total benefits and total cost. So, we can find them by finding the change in total benefits or the change in total cost to find both marginal benefits and marginal cost. On your own, try to fill out the marginal benefit and marginal cost columns. Don't worry, I will show you how to solve this. Now, let's calculate marginal benefit and marginal cost. Again, we are just trying to find the change in total benefits and the change in total cost over the change in workers. But good news, the change in workers is only 1. So we don't need to divide and waste our time doing that, okay? So now let's find the change in total benefits from 2 to 3 workers. The change in benefits here is 5,250 minus 4,000. So the marginal benefit for the 3rd worker is 1,250. Notice how we ignored the first box. We're also going to do that with marginal cost. We ignore the first box because we don't have the previous total benefits before that, so we have incomplete information. Now, let's calculate the 4th worker's marginal benefit. You do the same thing, but now you subtract 6,250, the total benefits when there's 4 workers, minus the total benefits when there's 3 workers at 5,250, giving us $1,000 in marginal benefit. Now, the marginal benefit of the 5th worker, we do that again by subtracting the total benefits of the 5 workers, which is 7,000. We subtract 6,250, which is the total benefits of the 4 workers. So we have a marginal benefit at the 5th worker of 750. Now let's do that for the 6th and 7th, and we got 500 and 250. Now let's find the marginal cost. Similar to marginal benefit, we just need to find the change in total cost. Again, we don't have to worry about the change in workers because it's only changing by 1. Now, the difference between 4,500 and 3,700 means that the marginal cost of 3 workers is $800. Now, for the fourth worker, we subtract 5,200 minus 4,500 to get us the marginal cost to be 700 for 4 workers. Now, for the fifth worker, again, we do the same thing, subtract 5,800 minus 5,200, giving us marginal cost to be 600. Now, for the sixth and seventh worker, we found the marginal cost to be 500 and 400 respectively. We just saw that we can find marginal benefit by finding the difference between total benefits now and with the total benefits then. So as you can see, the marginal benefit is decreasing as we keep hiring more workers. While for marginal cost, we do the same steps as marginal benefit, but now we are finding the change in total cost. Now, what do you notice regarding marginal cost? As the number of workers and meals served increases, the marginal cost declines. Now, let's also find profit. And that's an easy one to find. We just need to subtract total benefits with total cost. Again, on your own, fill out the column, and I will show you how to solve this problem. Now, we can find profit or economic surplus by just subtracting total benefits with total cost. So the first one for 2 workers, total benefit is 4,000. Subtract that with 3,700, we get $300. When we subtract the second one, the one with there's 3 workers, 5,250 minus 4,500 gives us 750. We do that for the fourth worker, we get 1,050. And then if we do this for the rest, we get 1,200, 1,200 again, and then 1,050. As you can see here, profits at first increases and maximizes at 1,200, and then starts to decrease again. That highest profit indicates that the number of workers we need to hire is what? We need to hire 6 workers. Why 6? Why not 5 workers who also has a maximum profit of $1,200? Because again, according to our marginal principle, we keep hiring until marginal benefit is greater than or equal to the marginal cost. The goal is to have them as close as possible. Also, look at the total benefits at 5 workers. Nerida can further increase her total benefits from 7,000 to 7,500. Therefore, the optimal number of workers to hire is 6 workers. Now that is clear, let's check our understanding of the marginal principle. According to the marginal principle and the rational rule, economic surplus is maximized when A. Total cost equals total benefit, B. Average cost equals average benefit, C. Marginal cost equals marginal benefit, or D. Producers make as much as possible. And without explanation, you should know that the answer is C. Marginal cost equals marginal benefit. That's what the marginal principle says and the rational rule. We are almost done with chapter 1. We just finished learning about our third principle, the marginal principle, and how we can use that hand in hand with the cost-benefit principle. We also learned to follow the rational rule to maximize economic surplus by finding the optimal unit where marginal benefits equals marginal cost. In the next video, we will learn about our last principle, the interdependence principle, and how our choices depends on other choices, other people's decisions, other markets, and changes through time.